Go. All right, so the book I recently read, actually I just finished it yesterday, was called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. And I picked this book because I was hoping it would work for our empathy book clubs next week. Next month, I decided to go in a different direction. There's a different autism book out there. And the reason being is the first half of the book, I wasn't quite sure. You are put in the head of a child with autism, and the first half of the book, it was overwhelming. The second half of the book, it started to redeem itself, and so I wish I had given it a better chance at the get-go. To start, I want to give you a general summary of my book. It's about a 9-year-old boy named Oscar. You would never know he's 9 from his vocabulary. He talks like a grown-up, and I think it's because he just has been around really intelligent grown-ups his whole life, and I also think it's just a trait of his autism. He absorbs information so quickly, and that's part of what makes him so intriguing. So his dad died in 9/11. How old were you during 9/11?
0.
Were you born yet?
Wait.
2001?
I'm born in 2001. I was born a month and 3 days
So
later.
you have the lucky break of not having watched that unfold. I can vividly picture where I was watching that on TV. And so it was interesting to experience that through the eyes of a 9-year-old. So picture, or imagine, so the little boy in the story gets sent home early. He lives in New York. They let him go home early the day of. His mom trusts him to walk home. So here you have a 9-year-old walking home in New York. He rushes home, and he sees his answering machine. Do you know what an answering machine is?
Yeah.
His answering machine blinking 3 messages. So he listens to those 3 messages, and guess who it's from? His dad. Going, hello, is anyone there? I want to talk to you. Hello, is anyone there? Okay, so he misses his dad's 3 phone calls. And, I don't know if Oscar at the time realizes what that means, because he's hopeful that his dad isn't anywhere near the buildings. All right? His dad calls again.
What's that?
He screens his dad's call. And at the time, right, Oscar had no idea the gravity of that decision. But that would have been the last time he ever talked to his dad. Okay, so that's the dilemma he's dealing with, is getting over the guilt of having not had a chance to talk to his dad one last time. Okay, he goes to such extremes, he hides the answering machine from his mom. Because it's like he doesn't want to share that secret with his mom. Okay, so he's working through a lot of baggage throughout the book.
Like internal problems.
Definitely. The one thing that he has is this lock that he found in his dad's closet. Or actually, it's not a lock, it's a key. And he keeps it around his neck, like on a necklace, and he's committed to find the owner of the lock. All he has to go off of is an envelope that says the word black. What would you assume? Is that a clue? That's not where he goes to, but I think that's a good enough guess. He decides that the owner of the lock must have the name Black. How many Blacks do you think there are? I don't mean skin color, I mean last name. In New York. He narrows it down to 162 million locks that he has to go look up. And he does this in the attempt to get closer to his dad. So he starts in the phone book, and he goes and he knocks on the door of the first woman with the name Black. Her name is Abby Black. Now this is rocking my world at this point, because I've had a few students with some semblance of autism, and in my experience they don't interact well with people. But this kid is clearly different, because he has enough gumption to go up to a stranger's door and say, hi, do you have a lock that fits this key? And he chats him up and he gets to know him. And so he actually has a lot more people skills than I ever thought an autistic kid should have. So that brings me to my first prop, right? We're doing a book talk in a bag. And it is a lock. all right, to symbolize the 162 million locks this little guy plans on looking for. Clearly, that's impossible. And what it unlocks for him along the way is his grandparents' stories. Now that brings me to my first signpost. Tough question. When I was reading this book, I was suddenly wanting to Google, is autism inherited? Because I could tell from reading his grandparents' stories that they had some version of it themselves. You could just tell. They're constantly on. They're constantly going. They just never sleep. They're really obsessive. And so I was starting to wonder if it's inherited. And I think what explains the grandpa's behavior is an episode he experienced in Dresden. Do you know where Dresden is? So Dresden is a city in Germany that was bombed during World War II. Here's what the grandfather went through. And this explains maybe why the grandfather behaves like he does. Quote, I later read that the first bombing lasted less than a half an hour, but it felt like days and weeks, like the world was going to end. The bombing stopped as matter-of-factly as it had begun. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? We ran out of the cellar, which was flooded with yellow-gray smoke. We didn't recognize anything. I had been on the stoop just half an hour before, and now there was no stoop in front of no house on no street, only fire in every direction. All that remained of our house was a patch of the facade that stubbornly held up the front door. A horse on fire galloped past. There were burning vehicles and carts with burning refugees. People were screaming. I told my parents I had to go find Anna. So we find out Anna is the girl he's in love with. She dies in the bombing. And at first I was wondering, why is the author bringing this into a story that's seemingly about 9/11? But I think the way that they both connect is that it's about how could humanity be so hell-bent to destroy each other? That's, I think, the connection between those two events. Can you pause? Can you